Come, come, let's hear the moral story. Come, come, let's hear the moral.
Today, we're diving into a story that feels like it's straight out of a forgotten fairy tale. It's a really fascinating look at what can happen when the parts of ourselves that we ignore, well, they just decide to walk away. This is the story of the scholar and the shadow. So, let's set the scene. Our story begins, like so many do, in a quiet, peaceful place. We find ourselves in a warm, unnamed country, and we meet our main character, a quiet, almost reclusive scholar. Now, you gotta understand, this scholar lives completely in his own mind. His days are just filled with books and deep thoughts. The entire world outside his window, it might as well not even exist for him. Except for one little detail, a mysterious silent house right across the street that almost seems to be watching him. And this right here is where things get weird. One evening, the scholar's own shadow literally detaches itself from his feet, slips across the street, and vanishes right into that mysterious house. Poof! Just like that, it's gone. And the scholar's reaction to this? Well, he's surprisingly calm about it all. He just kind of assumes, with the certainty of a man who believes in logic and order, it'll come back. Oh, but he couldn't have been more wrong. Because it doesn't return. Not for days, not for months, but for years. A whole chapter of his life just goes by. And even though he keeps up with his studies, he can't shake this feeling that a fundamental part of him is just missing. So, after all this time, there's a knock at the door. And standing there is this man the scholar has never met. But he feels this undeniable, unsettling sense of familiarity. This visitor is everything the scholar isn't: poised, stylish, and just radiating confidence. And then comes the big reveal. The man asks if the scholar recognizes him, and as the scholar looks closer, the impossible truth starts to click into place. The visitor says it plainly: "I am your shadow." It has returned all right, but not in any way he could have ever imagined. You see, the shadow was no longer a follower. It had been out in the real world, learning all the things the scholar had ignored. Things like power and desire and freedom. The dynamic had completely flipped. The scholar was gentle and uncertain, while the shadow was confident and clever. One was now the master, and the other, the one who was silenced. So, the shadow has big plans, and its ambition leads them to a distant kingdom where a wise princess is looking for a husband. The shadow, posing as a man, immediately steps into the spotlight. It charms the princess with its clever words, while the scholar, the actual man, is forced to stay in the background. Every single time he tries to speak the truth, his shadow shuts him down. But here's the thing. This princess is wise for a reason. She pays attention, and she starts to notice that something is deeply, deeply wrong with this whole arrangement. This confident suitor and his strange, silent companion, it just doesn't add up. Her suspicion leads her wandering through the palace halls one night. As she passes a closed door, she hears voices coming from inside. Not one voice, but two. So she stops to listen, and in that single moment, the entire deception begins to unravel. The first voice she hears is soft, almost a plead. It's the scholar, and he's begging his other half to just stop the charade, to come back and be what it truly is, a part of him. And the reply she hears next, it's absolutely chilling. It's cold, sharp, and just filled with years of resentment. The shadow scoffs at the idea of its true self, accusing the scholar of never letting it be anything at all. So this wasn't just about ambition. It was about revenge. The shadow truly believed the scholar had denied it a life of power and desire and freedom. And now it was just taking what it felt it was owed all along. Armed with this terrible knowledge, the princess knows exactly what she has to do. The very next day, in front of the entire royal court, as the shadow stands there all proud and confident, she rises, and the room falls completely silent. She looks directly at the shadow and asks this devastatingly simple question, a question that cuts right to the heart of the lie. Why is his companion never allowed to say a word? The shadow tries to deflect, of course, claiming the scholar is just confused. But the princess doesn't back down for a second. She just states the truth, right there for everyone to hear. He isn't confused. You are afraid. And for the very first time, the shadow falters. Her words, spoken out loud, in the light, begin to dissolve the illusion it had so carefully built. You can just see its confidence start to crack. Then, she delivers the final crushing assessment. She doesn't see a man who has grown, she sees a denied part of someone that became totally consumed by its own greed and resentment. A shadow that has simply lost control. And that's all it takes. Once it's exposed to the light of truth, the shadow has no more secrets to hide behind. It has no more power. And right there, before the eyes of the entire court, its form flickers, and it just fades away. Into nothing. And the scholar is finally free. But he understands this profound lesson now. You can't destroy a part of yourself just by ignoring it. In fact, keeping it in the dark is what allows it to grow, to fester, and to become something powerful and dangerous. You know, the truth didn't win this battle with a sword or with a shouting match. It won because one person was finally willing to listen and give it a voice. It just waited for its moment to be heard. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about in our own lives, right? What are the parts of ourselves that we try to push into the shadows? And what happens when they are never, ever given a voice?